Hello and welcome to Hugging the Snug. Today I'm joined by Cheryl Woodruff from LoveFoodHateWaste. Today is my day on our 7 Days to Sustainability Challenge, and I'm looking at food, water and health and sort of well-being, so they're all kind of interlinked. So I'm going to be asking Cheryl some questions about Love Food Hate Waste, and then also some advice for what our office could do in our challenge, and some things that we can take away from today. So the first thing to do is to have a hug, like the name implies. So okay, so question one is probably quite an obvious one. Tell us a little bit about Love Food Hate Waste and that.
Oh, Love Food Hate Waste started in 2006-07 and was set up to help consumers reduce their food waste. In this country we waste a huge amount of food. About 7.2 million tonnes, I think, of food, avoidable food, is wasted. So that's stuff that people buy, take home and then don't eat. So there's a lot of issues there. The issues with how much it costs to produce that food and transport it all around the country. The cost to the consumer of buying that food, and that works out at about £50 a head, a family per month is wasted on food. And then of course there's the cost of getting rid of that food. So local authorities collecting that food waste and then getting rid of it. So there's all those costs to think about. So we realised there were problems, but we came up with a solution. So we developed Love Food Hate Waste, which comes up with easily achievable solutions that people can actually take on board and help them reduce their food waste.
So do you kind of approach it from the basic level and aim that you're going to go to them with the message of, oh, you're doing this and you can save costs? I mean, is that the best way to get the message through to consumers, or do you...
It all depends on who you're talking to.
Okay.
What we tend to do is deliver, at the moment, I personally deliver training sessions to people who will then cascade the messages on to other people in the community. We've got a fantastic website, Love Food Hate Waste website, which anybody can go on.
Yep.
Lots of hints and tips on there. So there's a hard core of information that people can access and use as they want. So some people will be motivated by wanting to save money, others may be motivated by the environmental issues. So we all eat, we all need to stop wasting, so it doesn't matter what motivates people to come to the site, as long as they actually take away the messages and do something. Yeah.
So, I mean, what kind of groups are you kind of approaching? Is it everyone, or are there specific target groups you're going for?
Everyone. We're doing quite a lot of work with community groups, people who are already set up working in the community, doing shows and that sort of thing. But we're also doing a lot of training of people in businesses. So a lot of businesses will have green champions, and they will cascade the messages on within an organisation. We're doing lots of work with big supermarkets or retailers, so we will work with them with our messages, and they will incorporate the messages in their publicity. So let me think of an example. The co-op. The co-op did roadshows for their members, and they had cookery demonstrations, and we went along and supported them, and we talked about the messages while the demonstrations went on. They then produced information in their, I think it was the co-op, in their magazine that they have in store, so there'd be the Love Food Hate Waste messages there. And even things like putting key messages on bags. So we were talking about bags earlier, but this, you know, if you buy some fruit and you're not sure how to store it, the co-op printed it on the bag, how best to store the fruit when you got it home. So it's lots of little messages going out in lots of different ways.
Yeah.
And it's what we know, it's working. We know the amount of food that has been wasted in this country has gone down. The cost to the consumer is still the same because the price of food has gone up, but we know it's working. So the whole point is just to get out and meet as many people in as many ways as you want.
I mean, that's the interesting thing, is that we've sort of briefly spoke about it a bit before, but I think a lot of people don't think about food and then just throwing, I mean, most people just think about food, they throw it in the bin, or they don't think about it, and then they just think it's waste and it goes to the landfill. But actually, there's quite a lot of cascading effects. So we were talking about, like mine today, sort of health, what can actually happen to all that food waste, where it goes, and where it can end up. Again, cost the consumer, in the sense that, you know, if you're not, the more you throw away, the more our councils have to deal with what we're doing. So kind of how have you approached sort of making people join those dots a little bit more, rather than just simply don't throw that banana away, you could make a cake with it or something?
Well, I think one of the key things is we don't want to make people do anything. We want them to want to do it, because they can see the good reasons for reducing food waste. So if you're talking to people, it's quite a good idea to raise awareness. That was one of the big issues with food waste. People didn't think they wasted food. So when you ask people, do you waste food, they'll say no, because they don't see that little bit they're scraping off their plate as waste. But when you think of the number of people that live in this country, if we all waste a little bit, it all adds up. So it's just about finding the right messages for the people that you're actually talking to, and giving them solutions. So if you let them know why it's important to reduce food waste, so you can talk about the environment, you can talk about, I often talk about the journey of a slice of bread. So if you're talking to a group of people, it's silly, but if you're talking to 10 people and they've all wasted a slice of bread in that week, what's a slice of bread? It's nothing, is it? It's maybe the crust that you don't eat, or you've done too much toast and you're rushing out, so you leave it. It's only a slice of bread, but if you think of the journey of that slice of bread, from a farmer sowing a seed, using a machine, using resources to sow the seed, get the crop, harvest the crop then goes to be turned into flour. All this is using energy and resources. Then it's turned from flour into bread, again, more energy and resources. Then it's packaged, quite often in a plastic bag or a greaseproof paper, but it's packaged. Then it's transported halfway around the country. You go to the supermarket maybe, or the shop in your car, using energy and resources. You take it, you pay for it with your hard-earned money, you take it home, you store it maybe, you maybe put it in the freezer and get it out, and then you don't eat it. You can see the huge cost to producing that, and that has quite an impact on people, because most people eat bread, and most people don't value it. It's just a slice of bread. But once we've told them that, we can then give them the skills to stop wasting that bread. So thinking about planning, thinking, do you need to buy bread? If you do buy bread and you find that you only eat half a loaf and throw half away, why not freeze it? You know, you can freeze bread very, very easily. It's fine when you get it out and you eat it. You can, I was like making sandwiches out of frozen sliced bread. Making a sandwich with frozen bread is very, very easy. You know, it's very easy to spread, stick it together, package it, take it to work. By lunchtime it's defrosted. And it's very easy. If you've got a loaf and you're not going to be able to eat it, you haven't frozen it, you can make it into breadcrumbs and freeze it. And then when you're doing, I don't know, cauliflower cheese or cottage pie, and you want to do a topping, you can mix the breadcrumbs with a bit of grated cheese and make a really nice topping. You know, you can do things. So we give people hints and tips, very simple hints and tips to stop them wasting food. And I think once people have done one little thing and they go away, especially if you're talking to people, they come to you with one thing and they admit to it, and you can give them a solution, and they go away and they think, and they'll tell somebody else, and then they'll start looking for something else to do, because it's so easy.
So it's not about making people feel guilty about things. It's about getting people to value food, and then from that getting them inspired to be a bit more creative with it and to really think about it, as opposed to it just being something that they can, you know, walk into a supermarket, pick up, and if they don't need it, just chuck it away.
Yeah, it's about people feeling good about what they're doing. And doing what they can. So it's, I've met people who buy ready meals, and that's great. If that suits them, they're not throwing anything away, and that's their lifestyle, and that's what they want to do, that's fine. I'm not saying don't do that, do this. What I'm saying is find a solution for you and your lifestyle, and be aware that it will change in your life. So just because you've always done it that way, it doesn't mean that you always have to do it in that way. You know, when people first leave home, they find it difficult because they're used to their parents managing their food, and then they go away from home and they don't know what to do. So they have to learn new skills. You know, when you start sharing a house with somebody, it becomes difficult because you add another person into the mix. When you have children, you've got fussy eaters. So when we initially looked at food that was wasted, we looked at all the age groups to see who wasted the most food, and actually all age groups waste food. So a lot of people will say, older people don't waste food because they lived through the war, they know about rationing, but actually when we looked, they did waste food because they'll do things like have difficulty buying small amounts if you shop in a supermarket, so you can only buy eggs in a box of 6. You might not eat 6 eggs in the time that you should. They may do things like buy food in because somebody's coming for tea, and then they don't come. And they'll fall into the trap that we all do at Christmas and party time. You know, you put a big spread on for everybody, not sure how much to buy, so you overbuy.
Yeah, it's far too much.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things on the website we've got really good is a portion planner helper. So you can actually put in the number of people that you're catering for and how much food to get in. So if you, I don't know, if you're having a dinner party for 15, how much broccoli would you need? And it gives you the amount. And it's only a starting point, but it's really helpful for those occasions when you're doing something a bit out of the ordinary.
But then you also give recipe ideas as well, don't you? So if you have leftovers, you could say, well, actually, that broccoli, you could make a broccoli.
Well, again, on the website, yes, you can put in what you've got left over, and it will come up with recipes. And again, it's a starting point. It's not saying this is the only thing you can do. What it's saying is, have a look at this. You might like to try this. Once you've tried it and you feel confident, then you're more likely to try something else. Yeah,
but it's actually better because, I mean, if you've got food left over, you don't have to shop again and think you've got to make another meal because you've already kind of got a second meal from something you didn't necessarily think before.
I think most people have a meal in a fridge and a store cupboard. You know, you can, I don't know if you've got a slice of ham and an egg. You haven't got enough to make a meal for 2 as a slice of ham and 1 egg. But with pasta, you can do a carbonara.
Yeah. Okay, that's all really interesting. I suppose because we're doing 7 days to sustainability and it's all about an office challenge of being greener, what kind of tips have you got for us and potentially for businesses on kind of how they can do better with food, issues of
Food at work.
Yeah.
Get to know your fridge. Everybody's got a fridge at work, and there's an awful lot of stuff in the works fridges that gets wasted because we don't know what's in there. So we quite often put something in the fridge at the beginning of the week, and by the end of the week it's gone off and it gets thrown out. So have a look what's in there. Quite a good idea to have something stuck on the front of the fridge door with what's in there. So if you're going to put something in, put your name on it, put what when you put it in, because say somebody comes in on a Monday and then they're out all week, if you know they're not going to be back, you can actually utilise the food that they've left in there. And another thing I quite like doing is having a waste-free lunch. So maybe once a week, get everything out that's in the fridge and share a meal, make a meal, because you'll often find you've got lots of food in there and you can make a meal, and it's quite good fun. You can bring leftovers from home, but actually use the fridge, make it a tool that helps you stopping wasting food rather than just a cupboard where you put things and forget them. It's as simple as that, really.
Yeah, no, it's pretty simple. Well, thank you very much, Cheryl, and hopefully we can take away a lot from this.
Yep.
I will certainly now be, as environment sec, I'll be watching the fridge. I'll be checking, making sure everyone's doing what they should be doing.
Well done.
Thank you.